In this lecture, we are going to discuss about a function inside function, guys. So we have already discussed about a function. So how we can create a function, how we can try to get a return, how we can try to pass a parameter inside a function, and many more things that we have discussed so far, so forth. Now let's try to understand how we can try to write a function within a function or function inside a function with respect to a multiple example, not just one or two. So let's get started. So here, what I will do is I'll create a function called as test. Fine. And inside this function test, I'm going to create another function. This is the reason. So I'm calling it as a function inside function. So I'll try to create maybe a def test1 over here. Okay, that's completely fine. Now return. I'm just going to return a simple plain text. So this is a return of test1, or I can write in this way, test1 in test function. Okay, and then I'm going to return what? Return test1, execute. Now here you will be able to find out that once I'm going to call this particular function called as test, it is going to give me a return of what? It is going to give me a return of a text which I have not written inside a test function. I'm not writing this return inside a test function because for test function, return is basically test1. So whenever you are trying to call this particular test function, it is trying to return me what? It is trying to return me test1. Now what is this test1? This is the function which I have included inside this particular test1. So whenever I'm trying to call this test function, it is trying to execute this particular function. And what is a return? Return is nothing but this one, this particular string it is going to return, and yes, I'm able to get it. Now this kind of a situation, this kind of a phenomena is called as function inside a function. It's very useful in many circumstances. Even going forward in our upcoming lecture, I'm going to show you a recursion. So even over there, you are going to call function inside a function. I'm going to discuss about a closure. Even over there, you will be able to experience a function inside a function. I'm going to talk about maybe a annotation. So even over there, you will be able to see a similar kind of a flavor. So it's having a lot of uses with a different dimension, with a different kind of a example, even in a real life. So all of us are supposed to be aware about to create or maybe how to create a function inside a function. So hope all of you are able to understand this particular part of a code where I am trying to do a function inside a function. Now let's move on to the next example. Okay, fine. So here, let's suppose I'm going to create a function. So I'm going to name it as a outer underscore function function, and I'm going to pass a parameters in my previous function. So I have not taken any kind of parameter. Okay, that's fine. Now here, so in this function, I'll try to pass one of the parameter. Let's suppose I'm going to pass one of the parameter called as text. This parameter name could be anything. It's completely fine. Then I'm going to create maybe a inner underscore function. Okay, and I'm not going to pass any kind of parameter as of now. What I will do is I'll try to return what? So whatever text you are going to pass, so just try to convert that particular text in a uppercase. Yes, just try to convert all of those input into an uppercase and then try to give me a return. That's completely fine. And then return return what? So return basically inner function, execute. Fine. So this is another example of a function. So where in my outer function, a first layer of the function which I'm trying to create, I'm trying to pass some of the input. So input wise, I can try to pass any kind of a text, and that input I'm trying to use in my inner function. This is what I'm trying to show you, that how to pass a data inside an outer function and then use it maybe inside a inner function. Fine. Okay, so again, this is one of the simple use cases, guys, that you all will be able to find out. So here, if I'm going to call my outer function and if I'm going to pass a text, maybe SUDHANSHU, execute, as you can see that it is able to convert my input. It is able to convert my input, this particular text. Okay, this particular text by using this inner function into an uppercase. So by using this one into an uppercase, and finally I'm able to get a return of it. So technically, if you will see, it is just trying to call the outer function. So outer function is trying to return what? inner function. Okay, so it will try to execute this inner function. So whatever logic which I'm writing inside a inner function, it will just try to execute it. Simple and plain. And finally, I will be able to receive my outcome over here. Now let's try to understand a couple of more example over here. Okay, so here what I will do is, so I can try to create a function called as multiply, multiply. Okay, and here maybe I can try to pass n, and then I can try to write over here another function multiplier, and here I can try to write a number. Okay, that's completely fine. And here return return n into the number. So you will be able to observe that I'm trying to pass a parameter in outer function as well as into an inner function. So multiply is my outer function, multiplier is my inner function. I'm trying to pass an input in both of these functions, not just in one. So last time I have passed an input just in the outer one. Now I'm trying to pass an input in outer one as well as into a inner one. Okay, that's completely fine. And then return return what? So return basically multiplier. Okay, fine. You will be able to observe little bit difference over here even in terms of a return. So here if you will observe, I was trying to return the whole function with the closure, with the bracket, right? With the bracket I was trying to return each and everything. But here you will be able to observe that I'm not writing this bracket, means I'm not writing or I'm not returning the complete function over here. I'm just trying to return the function object. Now what is the meaning of it? So we'll try to understand this part. Okay, so here is the outer function which is multiply. I'm trying to pass some sort of a data inside my outer function. Then there is a inner function. Again, I'm trying to pass some sort of a data over here. I'm trying to do some sort of a multiplication within an inner function. And then finally, I'm trying to return this inner function to my outer function. Okay, that's fine. Now let's try to call it. So here multiply multiply function if I'm going to call. So this function if I'm going to call over here, this function if I'm going to call my, I have written, right? So I have to write multiply. That's fine. The spelling is not a big deal. So you can make a spelling mistake. That's completely fine. So here I'm going to call a multiply function. I have to pass n. Okay, I have to pass n. I'll try to pass maybe 3 over here. Instead of n, I'll try to pass some number which is 3. Now if I'm going to execute it, here is a outcome that you all will be able to find out. So it is not giving me a proper output, right? That is a problem. It is not giving me a proper outcome over here. Instead of that, it is just trying to return me what? An object of a function. That's a problem. Why? Because I am not returning the complete function. I'm just trying to return the name of it, which is basically means that I'm trying to return just an object of a function. That's it. And here, so it is telling me that function main multiply, and then you have to call multiplier with again some sort of a input. I have to pass an input even for the inner function, right? So as of now, I'm trying to pass an input just for the outer function, which is my multiply. Just for the outer function, I'm just trying to provide the input, but there is a input even inside an inner function. So how I will be able to provide it? Okay, so what I will do is, so maybe I can try to create a variable called as x. So x is nothing but x is an object or x is a variable of this particular function. Execute. Now I'm going to call x, and here I'm going to pass maybe a 12. Execute. Now I'm able to get the outcome. Now how I'm able to get the outcome, let me explain you. See guys, this is my outer function. Okay, this is my outer function. So I'm just trying to call it. I'm trying to pass 3 over here. So basically n is equals to 3 for me. Fine. Now whatever output, technically it is going to return me the object. So whatever object it is going to return, I'm just trying to hold it. Fine. And then object, this object where I'm trying to hold this output, I'm trying to provide one more data. Technically it is going to call which function? It is going to call inner function, so which is again a multiplier function. So multiplier function, I'm not just trying to call it by name, I'm just trying to call it with the help of the outer function. I'm just trying to provide the data. So 12 is nothing but it's a number that I'm trying to provide. So 3 into 12 is equals to 36. It is going to return. So this is how I can try to even create another variety of a function inside a function. So where for an outer function, I can try to hold an output inside one of the variable and then variable and just like a function. So this variable and just like a function, the way we are going to call the function. So I'm just trying to provide the input over here and I will be able to perform an operation. So this is again another case of this function inside a function which I'm able to showcase. Now let's try to understand with the help of couple of more example guys, right? So I believe here we are able to understand that how we can create a function without passing any kind of argument. So here argument inside an outer function but not inside the inner function. Here argument inside outer as well as inside the inner function we are able to achieve. Now let's try to see a couple of more use cases in the same length so that you will be able to understand things in a much better way. Okay, fine. Now so here I'm going to create a function so which will be able to do a data validation. Data validation means just like a if else kind of a statement it is going to implement and it will be able to do a data validation. So let's try to create such kind of a function which will be able to give me a data validation, means whatever data which I would like to validate, it will be able to validate it. So here I'm going to create a function called as set age. Fine. And I'm going to pass a data, for example, age over here. And def, again, inside this set age function, I'm going to create a function called as a validate. Okay, validate. Now, one function is set age function and then another function is a validate function. So which is again a nested function or function inside a function which I'm able to create. Now I'm going to write a logic that if age, right? If age is greater than equal to 0, so I believe this is my 0. So greater than equal to 0 and lesser than equal to maybe a 60. In that case, what I can return? So return true, means age is a valid age. So if you are going to enter an age, so which is in between this particular range, in that case, valid age that you have entered. Else I can try to return. Return false, F-A-L-S-E, false. Okay, that's completely fine. And so this is the return of the inner function which I have written, as you can see with the respect to a indentation. So this is a return of the inner function. Now what my outer function is going to return? So let me write a return. So here I can write valid age if validate else invalid age. Okay, execute. So this is one of the function that I have created where it is going to take input as a age. So let's suppose if I'm going to enter 80, in that case it will come over here, it is going to return a false. But finally you will not be able to get a return from here, you will be able to get a return from this particular one. So as per this particular statement, it is going to give you a return. So here we have written it is going to return valid age if this is going to be true, else it is going to return me the invalid age. Now let's try to call the set age function. So here set age and let me enter 80 over here. So invalid age, how it is trying to evaluate this one? So it will look into this particular return, as you can see, right? It will just go through this statement. So valid age, if this is going to be true, means if this function is going to return, the inner function is going to return true. And when our inner function is going to return true, so when our age will be in between these two, this range. If it is not within this particular range, in that case, it is going to return me what? False, which will come from the else statement. So it is going to return invalid age. Let me call a same function one more time. So here maybe I can try to give 10. 10 is a valid age. So 10 is a age which is falling in between these two brackets, right? In between these two particular range which I have mentioned. So here I'm able to get a valid age. So even in this way, you can try to create a function inside a function. I'm not returning this internal function in an outer function. Technically, I'm returning it, obviously, right? But in bit different way. I'm trying to like just get a true and false from this one. And then based on that, I'm again writing a logic in a return of my outer function. So this is again another example of function inside a function. Now let's try to understand one more example of this entire function inside a function. So here maybe I can try to take one example. So maybe I can try to customize a print function. So we all are using a print function to print a data set, maybe in a form of string. Technically it's a non-type, so maybe in a form of non-type I'm trying to print by using a print function. So maybe if I would like to customize my print function, so how I can customize it, let's try to understand with the help of one example. So where I'm going to implement it with the help of function inside a function, or maybe a nested function. Okay, so here I can try to write create maybe print, or maybe I can write recreate print, and I can try to give prefix over here. Okay, so I'm just trying to customize my own print statement. So the way print try to print it, I'll try to customize it. So def then print printer function I can try to write, and then message is another argument which I'm going to pass, which a parameter which I'm going to pass, and then print. So here print and format a string I can try to write in this particular place, and I can write over here prefix prefix, and it should return what? Message. Okay, fine. So this is what my inner function is going to do. So this inner function is going to print anything in this way. So it is going to take a prefix from the outer one and then message from the inner one. Okay, now what my outer function is going to return? So return inner function. So printer function, it is supposed to return. So again, similar kind of function we have already created, but here I have some objective, I have some goal. So I'm just trying to modify my own print statement. The way print statement is going to return, I'm just going to modify it. That's it. So in this print modification, what I have done is, so it is supposed to return some data with the prefix and with the messages, means with some tag, maybe, right, some tag, and then some messages I would like to return out of my entire statement. So here I can try to call maybe my create print statement. Now as you can see, create print takes a prefix, so maybe I can try to print over here warning. So prefix is going to be warning over here, and if I'm going to execute, you will be able to see a function object. Why? Because I'm not returning the complete function over here, right? I'm just returning the object of it. So here I can try to hold maybe inside print printx. So printx is my like a new name which I'm going to try to give printx, and then printx your system is going to crash. Now you will be able to find out the magic. So here I'm just trying to call my printx function. Fine, I'm just trying to call my printx function, and this printx function is trying to return a warning which I have entered over here, which is the outer function. And then from an inner function, it is trying to return what? It is trying to return the messages. So here I'm just trying to create an object of the outer function, variable of the outer function, which is a create print, and then I'm trying to call this particular object, particular variable of the outer function with this particular messages. And this is a new kind of a print where I don't have just a one single string, but I have a kind of a prefix or kind of a messages together in a single return. So this is again another example of a function inside function you all will be able to find out, guys. So hope all of you have liked this particular lecture. Hope all of us are able to understand what is a function inside function, how we can try to create it, and all of you are going to use it in future. With that, thank you so much everyone. See you again in my next lecture.